I do, yeah, and the rest of the band as well. Because Alpha Noir and Omega White, regardless the way it was released by Napalm Records, was first and foremost a musical experience where we wanted to pick up what we call the Alpha part and the Omega part of Moonspell, and for a change not to put it together on one album and juggle with the set list of that album, but to have something that it's really the two sides of the coin, or if you want to be more poetic, there's this Greek god called Janos that has two sides. And I believe that it was time for Moonspell to do such an experience. And the way that Napalm dealt with that was also positive, because nowadays we have to count first and foremost with the true fans, the fans that are ready to embrace an experience that takes more time, that has them investing in a special edition. And while Alpha Noir pretty much can stand as it's probably too short timed, but can stand as one album, and it's a good introduction, I believe, seeing from the shows to the younger crowds that are listening to more metal and gothic these days. So I think Alpha Noir and Omega White musically was a very rich experience for us, but also it's a good way and a positive way of touching many sensibilities listening to Moonspell. Well, for us, it wouldn't be a limited edition, and Napalm has to decide something. So there's not a perfect plan when you do a double album, because it's unconventional. People don't want to spend more money because it's double. Just a few kind of people will do that, the true fans, like I was saying. So Napalm target them, and even though we got the first sale reports, and they are very exciting, even given to the recession of the market in many countries, I still think that sometimes it's a false problem, because we know that nowadays people don't really have to buy the album or to buy the special edition to listen to the music and listen to the Omega White, even though they should in a way. I think that the important for the band was the music to be released, and it was. There was no tracks hidden or for this edition or spreading through all the countries that the countries distributed. So we always seen Alpha Noir and Omega White as a double album. But we know we have difficulties as well. Sometimes when we tour with Marduk, we don't want to play Omega White songs. We wanted to make it vibrant, so sometimes we just save these songs for special occasions, special shows. Yeah. We are always trying consciously to revive a little bit of the spirit of the 90s, because that's what we are, in a way. We were forged in a time where avant-garde was not only well received and almost mandatory in the bands from that period, but the crowds were more than eager to welcome an album like Wild Honey from Tiamat that mixes kind of death metal with Pink Floyd. Nowadays things have changed, even though there's a lot of people listening to progressive and a lot of people listening to all the subgenres. I think the crowds got more and more isolated than ever. There's few bands that break the boundaries. People nowadays, they want to see just like 70s oriented bands, so they can go to a festival and they have all the 70s bands there, some from the 70s and some from from just a couple of years ago. So really what it comes down to Moonspell, it's that I remember the songs from those days, I remember these albums from those days, and they were memorable because they were unique and different, and that's within the time we live now. That's what we always target for Moonspell. I think I kind of stopped thinking about and debating if it reminds Wolf Art or Irreligious or Darkness and Hope, because sometimes it's not even the songs that remind a detail or an atmosphere or something. And I believe that Alpha Noir and Omega White were albums that came in a time where Moonspell has worked hard since Antidote and Memorial especially, which was a big return to the scene. And people nowadays, they just, see us with a different set of eyes, and that takes work and that takes confidence in the band and patience of knowing how to wait as well. So I think albums like Wolf Art, Irreligious, Memorial, Night Eternal, Alpha Noir were albums where the crowd was in our favor. Some other times it wasn't supposed to be like this. Musical decisions or crowds listening to other stuff or flavor of the day not being this, being something else. But after 20 years, we just see that as a part of the growing, as a part of the band, how can I say, status in the scene as well. So, and we know very well that these things come and go, and the only thing that we have left is to be all the time romantic and passionate about our music. And then, when it comes out to the crowds, it's not like you can really predict it. So we don't even try it. I think a lot about it, honestly. And since Moonspell has turned 20 years, and when I wrote the biography, I had a couple of months I was heavily thinking about Moonspell's past and reliving all the episodes. So I'm thinking about it right now, because even though I really like what we started off with Memorial, I think we're definitely closing a circle with Alpha Noir and Omega White, probably that more direct circle. I want any direction we might go, I want in the future our music to have a little bit more of mystique. And the guys already did some demos, and we talked about this already, and they already incorporated some really cool exotic parts with different instruments and more surprising things about Moonspell. The other thing I miss a lot, I start either screaming or shouting or singing. I never did, almost never again, the narrations, like love crimes and the spoken vocals. So I think these will probably be elements we'll be recovering in the next album. It's not it's something that we haven't done for quite a while. We had our reasons. I think the exotic thing just turned out into a big charade with folk metal, most of it, and pirate metal that I'm not a big fan to start with, and people lost the mystique of it. That's not pagan, it's not only party, and if you go to metal festivals and there's a pagan metal band, people immediately connected with partying, drinking beers and doing stupid rowboats or whatever. So I'm still very much into world music. For instance, a great example of how you can put some ethnic with metal, it's Rotten Christ, new album, the Romanian folk song. It's brilliant, and I kind of got very inspired about that, because it's dark, it's brilliant, and it's pagan as well, and it's folk, and it's not, silly in a way. There's no denying we are a Portuguese band. I'm very convicted about it, because in every album, in a deeper form or in a lighter form, we let people know aspects of our culture, aspects of our music. Even if we don't use the instruments, sometimes the grooves and the riffs have some kind of Portuguese influences as well. So basically we've been doing this almost all the time, but I understand that. I'm quite cautious about the back to the roots stuff, because I think the 90s were not only about the music, it was about the atmosphere as well. And people always say, oh, the music is not as good or is rightful as it was in the 90s, but I say the atmosphere is not the same as well. So it's almost impossible, you know, to survive. I mean, in an atmosphere that probably wants more the metal to be meat and potatoes than anything else, from my experience. But I've listened to all these albums, all these bands, and I mean, it was just something natural that it's happening as well. You know, every band that you mentioned is turning 40s, so we kind of appreciate in a more elegant way, in a more constructive way, what we were in the beginning. I'm not so sure that if we are going to do an album with Portuguese instruments, but I, for once, want to make, probably for the new album, an EP following In Nome do Medo, In the Name of Fear, the Alpha song. That's an idea I'm entertaining. I would like to write more about it, because I could do something about the big earthquake of Lisbon, because I really like, you know, the Voltaire poem, and it's a very interesting subject to write music around and lyrics. Yeah, but we shall see. You know, I think we can definitely go deeper even into the Portuguese heritage, even though I think we always kind of in a way talk about it in our albums. Well, we did this Sombra kind of acoustic, and it was a big success in Portugal, and we got it to Wacken with that show, and we were very surprised because it was a big success over there as well. And we always open for the new experiences, you know, but sometimes we like to be a band as well, and sometimes we're very keen with our space in composing, but I think that chapter is not definitely closed, and we've learned a lot, and nowadays we have a lot of friends and resources to use when it comes to, when it comes to the field of more traditional music in Portugal, and I think that could be definitely a good addition to our music. Now that we also have, you know, the cello players, they work with us all the time. They recorded some stuff for Omega White, and there's some people doing stuff in Portugal like Sangue Cavallum. You know this band? They're a very obscure, like folk band, and I really like what they do. Maybe a little collaboration. I like to work more with vocals as well, because it's something that not a lot of bands do. They go for the orchestras and the string instruments, but I see a lot of stuff can be done with vocals and choirs. So yeah, we shall see. There's a lot of options open there. No, not at all. I don't embrace that discussion in Portugal if we should sing in English or in Portuguese. I don't think the Portuguese language is in danger. We have great writers, a lot of people speak it in the world, and for me the English for Moonspell has always been a form of expression. Some people don't believe it in Portugal, but I think it's the same for bands from Sweden or from bands from Brazil, like Sepultura singing in English. So it's the same. We just did In Nome do Medo because it sounded great, you know, and it sounded, I wanted to make a Portuguese song because we were coming from doing a project with some poetry from Miguel Torga, a Portuguese writer, poet, and we did it in Portuguese because it's the language that they are released. I did this together with Pedro from Moonspell and with Sidónio from Bizarro Comitiva, an industrial metal band from Portugal, and it sounded really great. So I didn't have enough of it, So me and Pedro decided to make a Moonspell song and to try out the Portuguese lyric. And I believe it sounds bad on interviews to say good things about your band, but I believe it's one of our most incredible songs ever. And it doesn't work only in Portugal, but in other countries, people are very spellbound by it. So I think it's definitely something we should explore more in the future. Yeah. Well, I'm quite obsessed by Ken Follett. I know he's I love him. He's a very known author, best-selling. But I like when he takes time, you know, to write about the medieval ages, like he did Pillars of the Earth, World Without End. And nowadays I'm full power on his trilogy from the 20th century. First War, Second World War, and then Cold War. I'm finishing Fall of Giants. And I mean, there's always many good stuff. There's always poetry that I like to read, especially Portuguese poetry. But Ken Follett is the one I'm reading right now. Yeah.